and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where it's safe to say we have so much on the agenda, so much to talk about after that absolutely incredible comeback from Barca, 4-3 against Celta Vigo. What a moment, and what massive points in the league. But with all of that said, it wasn't all good though, and today we're going to be looking into some of the concerns, some of the problems that we're seeing in this Barca team right now defensively, and as much as there was so much jubilation after the game, there was also frustration during and after it yesterday for Hector Fort. Ansu Fati wasn't happy, Ferran Torres as well, and we must talk about the injury to Robert Lewandowski, and right now, it is looking like a problem. It is looking like a real issue in this team. And we're going to be talking about exactly who could replace him in these vital games to come. It is all on the way. A big video here today. So get yourselves ready and let's do this. And I would like to begin here today, guys, with what is an absolutely incredible super thanks here sent in by Dalian, who actually sent this after the game against Borussia Dortmund in midweek. And I think it's even more important now, because he was actually saying there, the performance against Dortmund, it was concerning. There were worrying signs. We were lucky to get through that game, and he actually said, we will have to ride our luck for the rest of the season. And I think that sort of rings even more true after yesterday's game against Celta. It was one of those whereby we did ride our luck. We did come through that game. It was about survival. It was about getting the points. It wasn't necessarily, again, about the performance level. But I think that brings me on here to talk about our mentality. Before we talk about some of the issues, some of the negatives with yesterday's game, let's just applaud what the team still managed to do, because even not at their best, nowhere near it, even with the team very tired, let's be honest, they still managed to rally to come back from 3-1 down. I mean, that's extraordinary here, and I think we have to applaud what Flick has done with the mentality of this team, the way that he's instilled such belief, such confidence, and also don't forget as well, calmness. Because when we were 3-1 down yesterday, I know many of us fans were thinking, oh, we're in a bad situation here. We have a massive problem on our hands. But yet the players, they were not panicking. They were not worrying here. They weren't thinking, oh, we're done in this game. They were ready to fight back. And we've seen the players so many times this season really dig in, really work hard against all the odds. And they find a way. They are finding ways to win. And one thing is for certain, no matter what happens, no matter what we do out there, you can never, ever write off Hansi Flick's Barca. However, guys, and yeah, you all knew there was a however coming here, because as much as we will celebrate yesterday's win, it was just like when we got through in the Champions League. It's great, you know, obviously we're going to be happy about it. We support the team no matter what, and an incredible comeback. It's great to see. But at the same time, we don't want to paper over the cracks here. Ahead of the games that we have to come, I'm thinking about Real Madrid, I'm thinking about Inter Milan, we still need to correct some of these issues that we're seeing, and especially defensively here. We have to look at what we are doing in the defensive area of the team, because the first thing that I would say here is, look how easy Celta found it. You know, it wasn't as though yesterday we conceded incredible goals against us. You know, they came out with just spectacular moves, spectacular long-range strikes. You have to look at the goals yesterday and say, okay, they were easy. You know, Celta did not find it hard to breach our back line, to get through our midfield. And that's a big concern, because what that means basically, at the root of the problem right now, it is down to the pressing. It is down here to that high line coming undone because we're not able to work off the ball. We're not able to close opponents down. We're giving people too much time on the ball, and they were just able to slice their way through Barcelona with absolute ease. That is a worry. Now, I would look at it and just say, okay, speaking of tiredness, Koundé looks absolutely shattered out there. Now, I know that he loves to play, and I know Flick said before the game, look, he wants to be involved every single match. We all know he's got an incredible fitness level, but we've seen this at several points this season, whereby Koundé at his best, he's amazing. He has been one of our standout players this campaign, but when he dips below that level, you know, when he is a bit tired, when he's had a few too many games in a row, that performance really drops, and it's really noticeable when that happens, and that is something that we're seeing right now. So Koundé is one of those players who I thought would be rested yesterday, he was not by Hansi Flick. Which then, of course, makes us look over to the other side, from right back to left back. Now, this is the one, it genuinely scares me. It's one of those things that when I'm trying to fall asleep at night, I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen in the Copa del Rey final? What is going to happen at left back in that game? Because obviously we don't have Balde. He's fighting to get back fit. He's really trying, and we really miss him. And Gerard Martin's just not the same. He is not in the same stratosphere as Alejandro Balde is. And the problem I have is that you look at it yesterday, Celta targeted him. Celta actively went out there and thought, right, that is the part of the team that you go for. You really do target that left-back area time and time and time again. That's where a lot of the goals came from. That's where a lot of the dangerous moments came from. Gerard Martin could not cope. That is not a good sign. That is something that we have to look at ahead of that Real Madrid game and think, how do we stop that? How do we counteract here the fact that we don't have Alejandro Balde? And I think that's when we have to talk, guys, about one of the very few mistakes, admittedly, this season. There hasn't been all that many from Barca, but one of the really big ones, I feel, especially now. Why haven't we seen more of Hector Fort? Now, I know that this season, when he has had very, very rare opportunities, but when he has had a few moments in games, he hasn't been extraordinary. I'm not saying here that he's been absolutely outstanding and that he's wowed us all, but neither, to be honest, has Gerard Martin. You know, Martin, yes, certainly has improved from where he actually started the season, but that's because he's been given chances. That is because we've actually gone back to him time and time and time again. Why is Hector Fort not had the same kind of support, in my opinion? Because you look at it right here this season, he started 3 games. I mean, 3 games. What are you supposed to do in that amount of time here? When you think about how much this Barcelona team have had to play, how little rest our defenders have had, especially in the full-back areas, and I find this even more crazy when you consider he can play at right back and left back. So you've got a player here who's actually capable of performing on both sides. And we've seen it, by the way. Do you remember at the Metropolitano against Atletico Madrid? At left back, he was amazing. He was absolutely outstanding in that game. Now, you don't lose that talent. You don't lose that quality here. This is a player that can contribute. We just haven't seen him right now. And I think, to be honest, that feeling, that kind of frustration, he is feeling it. And it actually spilled over yesterday. At the end of the game, Hansi Flick, we know that he goes out there, that he greets every single player. There's a really great atmosphere, usually. He went over yesterday to Hector Fort, and he kind of didn't want any part of it. You know, and I think the frustration there, it is very, very clear. He walked off there. He didn't really want to engage too much with Hansi Flick. He was very, very upset that he didn't get an opportunity again in this game. Headed straight to the dressing room. And I just think he's probably surprised. He's probably thinking here, what do I really have to do? Looking at what we are seeing, looking at the defensive mistakes that are still happening out there for Barca, what really does he need to do to just give himself a chance? Because at 18 years old, that's all he is, 18. If you see more of him, if you give him more opportunities, hey, he may well improve. However, though, guys, one interesting thing right now I think we should certainly bear in mind here, and again, I've got an excellent super thanks coming in from Christian, who's basically saying here, don't forget about Andreas Christensen. This is still a player that's back now from injury. He's actually been on the bench. You know, he hasn't quite made that return yet, but he's there. He's available, and we shouldn't forget about him because him at his best, he's a calming play. He's a calming influence at the back, and he can perform at a very, very high level. And I would just like to ask you guys right now, do you believe he can play a part? You know, we've barely seen him all season long. He's had numerous injury problems. But now that he's back from that, do you think Christensen could come into this team, especially with all of the games that we have, with the rotations that we need to see and we need to make? Can he help us in defence and maybe even in midfield, of course, if it comes down to it as well? So I think here it's a very good point. We've got to keep an eye out for Christensen because he can certainly add something. And right now, we are crying out for all the help that we can get. Because that then brings us on to the attacking areas in this team right now. And obviously, guys, hindsight is a wonderful thing. But I've got to be perfectly honest and say, I was massively surprised yesterday that Robert Lewandowski started that game. Or I was even surprised as well that he played in Dortmund. I was surprised that he played against Leganés. I just felt as though at some point here, whether it be any of those last 3 games, we would have seen Lewandowski out of the team on the bench. Because to be fair, we've seen that right the way through the season. You know, Lewandowski at times has been rested in the league. He has been maybe giving a bit more priority there to the Champions League. And what that means right now is that Lewandowski, he started 5 games across a 2-week period. Now, we all know the schedule has really demanded everything here at Barca from us, but he's 36 years old. You know, at some point, that was going to take its toll. Now, the unfortunate news for us is it's happened now. Everything has just sort of fallen apart in this moment because Lewandowski, of course, went down injured yesterday. That's something you very, very rarely see with him. And tests have confirmed this morning that he has a left semitendinosus injury. Now, it does appear to be there a problem with the hamstring, and the signs, they are not good right now. Because what we have to say, guys, what we have to make very, very clear here is that the club, again, they've not put a timeline on it here, much like what they did with Alejandro Balde. And that's mainly because they want to leave it open. They want to sort of leave that return date in the balance because Lewandowski, he is going to do everything to come back as quickly as possible. And he's done it in the past. He's recovered very, very fast on many, many occasions. But the feeling right now in the media is that we could be looking at 3 weeks out. Now, if we look at the games that we have coming up, obviously Lewandowski there, he's out of the Mallorca game, absolutely confirmed. He is also definitely out of the Copa del Rey final. We will not be able to call upon him against Real Madrid. Then he's also definitely out of the first leg against Inter at home in the Champions League. Nothing there against Valladolid. And from that moment on, it's up in the air. Because if it was 3 weeks, he's out of that second leg. He's even probably out of the game there in the league against Real Madrid, and then he will be back in time to play Espanyol. But the feeling right now is that Lewandowski, he's really going to try and target the second leg against Inter, if he can. If not, the Clásico then in the league against Real Madrid. What we know for absolute certain right now is that we don't have him in the Copa del Rey final. We don't have him in the first leg against Inter, which is a blow. You know, he's scored so many goals this season. He has been so reliable in front of goal. You know what you get from Lewandowski. You know where he's going to be. The front three, of course, have been so impressive, and even more so in the Champions League. And, of course, we will miss as well his experience in these big games. He does know how to command himself and how to calm down the team in moments of panic, and we've lost all of that. In one instance here, Lewandowski is now not going to be available. So from here, what do we do? Well, let's start then by talking about Ferran Torres, because let's just say, what a goal he scored yesterday. I know the comeback was incredible, we're all talking about the way we scored goals there late in the game, but right at the start of it, what a goal from Ferran, and we should be seeing more of this from him. He's not just a player who's on the receiving end of things. He's not just a player there who can be a poacher inside the penalty area. He can run at players. You know, he can take players on. He can win things on his own. And that was a great goal. And we must see more of that from him. Now, he was actually subbed off yesterday against Celta Vigo after just 1 hour of the game. After 60 minutes there, he came off. And again, he wasn't happy about it. He was really fuming. He kicked the ball away there on the touchline. He didn't want to talk to everybody, shrugged everybody off and went straight to the bench. And he felt as though he had more to give in this game and he did not want to be taken off. Well, the good news for Ferran, you're going to be playing now. You are going to get more than enough opportunities now with Lewandowski out. This is your moment. It's absolutely massive for him. He is definitely going to get minutes there in the Copa del Rey final. A moment against Real Madrid could be in Ferran's future. And he's also going to get huge minutes again in the Champions League. So this is a vital stage, not only of Ferran's season, but of Ferran's Barca career. This is what it's come down to. These are the moments that he would have been working for, that he would have been waiting for, and he has to take them. However, that is not all, because I would also say, guys, let's be very clear about this. Dani Olmo now just got even more important, and I would actually say he is key to the remainder of this campaign, which is already a little bit scary, a little bit worrying, because we are now relying and putting extra emphasis on a player that's been injury prone. We know he's had his struggles. We know that he's had a really hard time putting a run of games together. We need it now, though. Much like with Ferran, whereby you've all been waiting for this. this is the moment for Almo here, because we need now that extra attacking threat. He brought that on with him yesterday, got a really, really key goal, and he also has that knack, doesn't he, of making really good runs, finding himself in good positions, and don't forget as well with Almo, he can play false nine if required there, so I think we've got to keep him fit whatever way we can, whatever you have to do, wrap him in cotton wool if you have to. Almo is key, and we need him now. But there are more players. There are more options here for Hansi Flick. What about Pau Victor? He actually came on there for the very final minutes of the game. And again, it's one of those players whereby you're a little bit confused about what's been happening with him. He's barely had any opportunities right the way through the season. But with Lewandowski now out, with no real recognised number 9, out-and-out player there, he might get a chance. He might get more opportunities now in the coming games, and especially in the league there, a chance to impress. Now, I would say he probably doesn't have the same confidence that he had in pre-season, when he was banging in goals for fun, when he was looking like a really, really exciting player. That's probably taken a hit. We're going to need him here to get back up to speed, but I think we are going to see him a little bit more, and let's see if he can have the desired impact. And can we also talk about Ansu Fati? Because look, when Pau Victor came on yesterday, the man who was really unhappy at the end of the game, it was Ansu Fati, when he knew he wasn't coming on, when he'd been warming up, when he'd been going through all the drills on the touchline, but then the final subs came on, and he just had to walk back to the bench. And in doing so, he took off his bib, he threw that there away, and he kicked out there at a drinks box on the touchline. Sorry there, if you're that drinks box, you just got a pretty big blow to the head. But anyway, Ansu not happy. And look, you can understand it, because ultimately, he wants to be part of this. He wants to be living this moment in the season. And he also probably thinks, could I help? Could I actually contribute something here? I've got big games, big moments in my season. Can I be a factor in this most important stretch? Because it could change everything. It could change everything for him. One moment, one goal, it could really bring him back into focus. So Ansu, he wants to be a part of it. He's another player now that with Lewandowski not there, not available, you'd imagine more minutes are going to come his way. And that's why yesterday maybe he wanted to show that frustration, to show, look, I care. I want to be out there. I want this. I need this. And we just need to see that same desire, that same passion, that same driving force in the training sessions now. Show Hansi Flick why you should be out there. Show him that you can have an impact here in these final games of the season, guys. But let me know, who replaces Lewandowski? Is it going to be Ferran for you? Is it somebody there like Almo in the false nine? Which players do you think could come in, though, and have an unexpected impact? Could Pau Victor do something? Could Ansu Fati make this moment his own? Do let me know all of your thoughts down below, guys. And of course, we are going to be talking much, much more, because there's a massive week coming. It is an absolutely colossal week, the start of several weeks to come next week, and I cannot wait to experience every moment right here with you guys. But thank you indeed here for all of your incredible support, all of the super thanks is coming in. It really means a lot to me, and I will see each and every one of you very, very soon. Thanks for watching, but until next time, as always, Vesca, El Barça.